In a remote river in West Africa, there's a lonely and mysterious island, a remnant of a lost world. To the local people, the island is a sacred place where the spirits of the dead live on in the forest animals. Tiwai Island is in Sierra Leone in tropical West Africa. It lies in the middle of the Moa River, which flows through the far southeast corner of the country near the Liberian border. 65 kilometers upstream from the Atlantic Ocean, the river divides, creating a mosaic of islands. At 11.5 square kilometers, Tiwai is the largest and the only one still covered in rainforest. It's a tiny surviving fragment of what was once the vast Upper Guinea forest. More than 150 species of tree thrive here, supporting a rich variety of birds and mammals. Among them is a crowded population of primates, more densely packed than anywhere else in the world. There are more than 2,000 individual primates on Tiwai, belonging to 11 different species. This is a Campbell's monkey. The Mende people call the Diana monkey the messenger because it's always the first to give warning of danger. All the primates on Tiwai, including the spot-nosed monkey, eat fruit, but there's very little competition between them. Each species prefers to feed at its own level in the forest canopy and on different foods. Only a mature forest like that on Tiwai can support such an abundance and variety. All the forest creatures have their place in Mende culture, but primates are particularly important. The tribe has never lived on Tiwai, but their beliefs play an important part in preserving the island. Neighbouring tribesmen and foreigners have never been allowed to hunt there, because to the Mende, it is a sacred place. The Mende call the lizard buzzard the witch bird, but they believe that all birds of prey harbour evil spirits. For fear of provoking their anger, they don't hunt any of them. For centuries, tribal taboos such as this protected many of the forest creatures. Of all the animals, chimpanzees are the most revered. They're like humans in so many ways that the Mende consider killing one tantamount to murder. There are about 15 chimps on Tiwai. They live as a close-knit group, but they break up into small parties to look for food. It's well known that chimps use tools, but only the West African race uses a stone to crack nuts. They select their tools carefully for size and weight, and often carry them a long way to a suitable tree root which serves as an anvil. At between 1 and 2 years old, young chimps start begging for nuts. Their mothers teach them how to crack the shells. Nut cracking isn't as simple as it looks. The size and shape of the stone is critical, and the nut must be placed at the right angle on the anvil. Mastering the art can take 6 years of practice. Tiwai's chimps have developed their tool-using skills even further. By breaking off a short piece of stick and holding it in their teeth, they can prise out the pieces of nut which they can't reach with their nails. It's the first time truly wild chimps have been filmed, and this behavior is completely new to science. Chimpanzees are in such danger throughout Africa that this could be the last chance to study them in the wild. At midday, the usually noisy forest is silenced by the heat. The monkeys retreat to the treetops to catch the cooling breeze. At the height of the dry season, the temperature can reach 40 degrees centigrade. Round the shores of the island, sandbanks shimmer in the sun. This white-headed plover has just laid her first egg. In the hottest part of the day, it must still be kept at a constant temperature. She goes to the river, moving cautiously, on the lookout for predators. Special feathers on her breast soak up water. For animals like the spot-necked otter, staying cool at midday is no problem. Several otters have their territories around Tiwai's shores. Each male marks his boundary by renewing the scent at regular sprinting sites. The spot-necked otter is reputed to be the fastest of its kind underwater. In the past, its speed helped it to escape crocodiles, but that threat has virtually gone. Nearly all the crocodiles have been killed by the Mende. For such a swift animal, fishing is easy, especially when its prey is a slow-moving species like tilapia. Even an otter can get a fishbone stuck in its throat. Spot-necked otters are still relatively common, even though the Mende hunt them to eat. Another local activity is more of a threat to them. Near the end of the dry season, the villagers dam the Moa River to dig for diamonds. Six meters below the riverbed is a layer of gravel which contains the gems. The whole community helps dig to this level, which can take several days. When the seam has been exposed, the local paramount chief takes his share. The formality's over, it becomes a free-for-all. People dig for diamonds all along the upper reaches of the Moa. They disturb the riverbed to such an extent that all life in the water is threatened. The silt smothers plants and kills fish. The mining operation leaves the Mende with a reduced food supply. Fish is one of their main sources of protein. When all the gravel has been excavated, it's carefully washed in the river. This kind of mining is illegal as well as harmful. But because the diamonds are so valuable, legislation is unlikely to stop it. However, every year the law of nature calls a halt. In Sierra Leone, the rainy season starts in April. Within weeks, the level of the river rises 5 meters, putting an end to diamond mining for another year. For 4 months, there's little movement to or from Tiwai by man or beast. The Moa River has become a formidable natural barrier, effectively sealing the island off from the outside world. During the wet season, everything rots. Trees which fell during the year are broken down by fungi. The fungi gain access to the fallen timber through burrows made by termites. The amount of wood removed by each insect is minute, but they exist in enormous numbers. There are probably over 1 billion termites on Tiwai. They owe their success to their complicated social organization. Most of the termites are foraging workers, but some have a protective role. In response to the footsteps of an approaching pangolin, soldier termites sound the alarm by drumming with their heads. Within minutes, the entire foraging party will have gone to ground. But the long-tailed tree pangolin ignores the termites. It feeds on black tree ants, whose colonies can be 30 meters above ground. The ant's nest is protected by hundreds of thousands of workers, all of which can bite. But the pangolin is armored with overlapping scales and exceptionally thick skin. With powerful front limbs and sharp claws, it rips open the nest, hard as cement, to expose the defenseless larvae and pupae within. Many fall to the forest floor, but they're the lucky ones. They escape being eaten, and they're quickly rescued. Workers pick up the embryonic ants lying helpless below and carry them one by one back to the nest. The workers swarm out to defend the colony. After a while, their bites are too much for the pangolin, and it moves on. It rarely has time to cause irreparable damage. The ant's nest survives to await the next attack. The forest on Tiwai, with all its variety, provides food for a wide range of animals. Monkeys feed in the same trees as the pangolin, but on fruit, not ants. Diana monkeys are especially fond of the fruit of lianas, the creepers which festoon the trees. They test each one for ripeness, twisting the stem to see if it gives way easily. The fruits taste sour and sweet, like a cross between a mango and a guava. The Mendi like them too, but since they grow too high above the ground, only the monkeys can reach them. Fruit discarded by the monkeys seldom goes to waste. The water chevrotain is the smallest of the 6 species of antelope which live on Tiwai. It stands 20 centimeters high. Its stripes and spots perfectly mimic the dappling of light and shade on the forest floor, where it spends most of its quiet life. Antelope are common. Their flesh is good to eat, and it forms an important part of the Mendy's diet. They usually hunt them at night with lights. During the day, the chevrotain's cryptic colouring makes it impossible to find. But this man is not hunting antelope. The Mendy are traditionally farmers, not true forest people like the pygmies of Zaire. Complex symbolism, folklore and secrecy surround the art of hunting. Primates are not their traditional prey. There is no status to be gained from killing one, and as Muslims, the Mendy are forbidden to eat monkey flesh. But there is an export market for the meat, so that monkey hunting has become big business in Sierra Leone. This market and modern weapons threaten the survival of the country's primates. Campbell's monkey is good to eat and a pest of local crops. It's relatively common, and its population could sustain culling. The meat could be a valuable source of protein, but this was killed not for local consumption, but commerce. This man has been commissioned to shoot 40 monkeys for export to Liberia, where the flesh fetches a high price as a delicacy. To preserve the meat, the hunter's wife smokes and dries the carcasses. Current estimates suggest that monkey meat crosses the border to Liberia at a rate of 300 tons a month. The trade has little effect on the main crop pests, like mangabees and green monkeys. They're shy, secretive, and hard to shoot. It's the bolder species that suffer, in particular the colobus monkeys. Times and customs are changing in Sierra Leone. Only the older Mendy generation still regards monkey meat as forbidden. The religious scruples of the young have been eroded by the 20th century. Trade with Liberia, and more recently within Sierra Leone, is proving devastating to the rarer species. Scientists estimate that without protection, the red colobus may be extinct in a very few years. The black and white colobus fares little better. It might survive 10 years longer. The seeds of the faraway tree are packed with protein and fat, but the seed pod is extremely tough. The black and white colobus is the only species with teeth and jaws that are strong enough to bite into it. Its diet includes more leaves than that of any of the other primates on Tiwai. To deal with this indigestible food, it has developed a specialized stomach. colobus monkeys live high in the trees in the depths of the forest. Chimps, by contrast, spend most of their time on or near the ground, and they are accomplished crop raiders. This individual devastated the entire crop of a mango tree planted long ago when farming was allowed on Tiwai. On the mainland, the chimps have no choice. There's so little natural habitat left that they must either steal or starve. Evidence that a chimp has passed by lies strewn all over the ground. The discarded fruit attracts other inhabitants of the forest. The chameleon is a creature of the canopy, only rarely venturing to the ground. Even though it can change color to perfect its camouflage, it's safer up in the branches. The trees on Tiwai provide a sanctuary for chameleons and a playground for monkeys. In other areas, forest creatures are having to flee for their lives. Rainforests all over the world are being turned into farmland, and it's no different in Sierra Leone. Just opposite Tiwai, the riverbanks are on fire. For centuries, slash-and-burn agriculture has been a continuous threat. Now commercial logging adds to the danger. The last major stands of lowland rainforest in Sierra Leone, the Gola forests, stretch to the north and east of Tiwai. They're the only other place where rare monkeys survive, and they're disappearing fast. Sierra Leone has lost 97% of its primary forest. The clear-felled land produces crops for 2 years. During the next 10, when it must be left fallow, it can be harvested for medicinal herbs, building materials, firewood and bushmeat. But it provides no habitat for animals dependent on the forest. On Tiwai, they still stand a chance. After long campaigns by scientists and conservationists, and with the cooperation of local paramount chiefs, the island is the first area in Sierra Leone to be designated a game sanctuary. Even major crop pests like mangabees can escape persecution on Tiwai. There's no farming or logging on the island. Although both activities are legal, they're discouraged by the government and the local chiefs, and some people would ban them. Others say they could be managed to control their effect on the ecology and to increase the value of the island to local people. The decision is crucial to Tiwai's future. Tiwai Island in Sierra Leone is valuable to conservation because of its primates, but it also shelters many other species. Until recently, straw-coloured fruit bats were common in the wet season, roosting during the day in large colonies. The species is migratory, visiting the island only when the trees are in fruit. Females give birth between December and late February and mate from April to June. This one is plainly not in a receptive mood. A well-aimed nip puts a stop to all further advances. The bat colony changed its daytime roost from Tiwai to some trees close to a village on the mainland. The Mende eat bats. Within a couple of days, almost the entire bat population was shot. A few bats still survive on the island, and in time the colony might recover. If hunting were allowed, the bats would rapidly disappear, and the primates would soon follow them. The chimpanzees on Tiwai are more precious than they were in the mid-80s. Then there were over 2,000 of them in Sierra Leone, but now there are only a few hundred. The young ones are caught to be sold as pets. The usual way of capturing an infant is to shoot its mother. For every captive infant chimp that reaches the market, between 5 and 10 mothers and babies will be killed. female gathers a last handful of nuts before retiring for the night. At dusk, the straw-coloured fruit bats leave their roosts to feed in the surrounding forest. As night falls, one of Tiwai's most primitive primates awakes. The potto is a prosimian, a living link between ancestral primates and modern monkeys. Millions of years ago, these early primates dominated the world's forests. When monkeys and apes evolved, the prosimians were displaced. Two species survive on Tiwai, but only because their nocturnal habits enable them to avoid competition with their more advanced diurnal relatives. They're not entirely without rivals, however. The other night feeders include bats. Fruit-eating bats are important for seed dispersal. Having extracted all the juice, they spit out most of the seeds in dry pellets. Any seeds they swallow are excreted after a few hours, usually away from the parent plant. Bats evidently regard pottos as competitors, even though fruit is only part of their diet. Pottos also eat tree resin and insects, and almost anything else they can catch. Palm civets spend the day curled up in a tree hole or a dense clump of leaves. Although they're rarely seen, their insistent calls are well known to the local people. Just as there are nocturnal primates to fill a niche left vacant by their diurnal relatives, So there are pangolins that come out only at night. They divide prey between them. The white-bellied tree pangolin eats red tree ants under cover of darkness, and its long-tailed relative concentrates on the black variety during the day. Pangolins give birth to a single baby, which spends the first year of its life riding on its mother's tail. It maintains a firm grip. The ground might be 30 meters below. On the forest floor, a brush-tailed porcupine searches for fruit dislodged from above. Its quills are its main means of protection. They're sharp, but not sharp enough to deter all its enemies. At the first sign of danger, the porcupine retreats, rattling its tail in alarm. The African civet is 3 times the size of the palm civet. Now that leopards have been wiped out by hunters, it's Tiwai's largest predator. Civets are best known for the musk they secrete from glands under the tail. Musk has been used for making perfume since biblical times. The animal also uses it to attract a mate and to mark its territory. It's rather short-sighted, but this is no handicap in the dark or in dense undergrowth. It finds its way through the forest by smell. A civet marks its prey with scent from glands in its neck. This might mask the smell of blood, preventing scavengers from finding food which the civet intends to eat later. In the past, Tiwai was farmed. Its beautiful forest is barely 60 years old, yet it stands among the surrounding farmland like a relic from an earlier era. As it grew, it provided a haven for animals escaping from the clearance of the surrounding forest. Sierra Leone has suffered political upheavals in the last few years. In 1991, Tiwai Island was invaded by rebels from Liberia with their well-known fondness for eating monkeys. However, they have since moved out and for whatever reason left the island's primates unharmed. Protected by the river, by ancient taboos, and more recently by conservationists and the local paramount chiefs, Tiwai remains a sanctuary for the spirits of the forest.